Hey, it's me. I don't know if you remember me. Last time I did a video for YouTube was 2 years ago, actually. Yeah. So I haven't done it just because I've been busy with life and busy with the real world. But I actually felt I really wanted to talk about just a really quick reflection. I know it ended about 2 weeks ago. Black in Latin America. Um, so the flags here are not intentional. That's the background. So I have so many different Latin American flags, so many movement flags, subcultural, etc., etc. So that's the whole point. But I just want to talk briefly. I'm not going to really go too specific on each one. Just talk in general. I will say though, to be specific, I will say for Mexico, Mexico and Peru, I really felt Mexico should have spent a lot more time in Mexico and Peru, and probably should have had their own episode just because, both with regards to Mexico, there's so many people in the U.S. that are of Mexican background. So I just felt the fact that it's not that advertised, the blackness in Mexico, I just felt it really deserved more time. And with that, the American standpoint, the American viewpoint, was my biggest issue with Henry Louis Gates and how he approaches this. I acknowledge that he is trying to educate people who are not interested in Latin America or anything black or any Afrocentric research, Afrocentric issues. But one of the things that really bothered me is that he kept comparing Latin American societies to American societies. Kept comparing Latin American, Afro Latin Americans to African Americans, and that's actually one of the things that you're not supposed to do as an academic. In Academia 101, it says do not be ethnocentric. Do not use your own culture, your own society as a measuring tool for others. Just because you're not gonna be able to see in a holistic approach. So that really was my biggest issue. The fact that he was very black and white. There was no in between with him. And I believe he was the one in Cuba where one of the professors corrected him about one of the revolutionaries, I believe. And he said, "Oh, a black man," and she said, "No, man of color." And I think that's very important because me being Latino, I know that it's not just black and white. In Latin America, there's so many categories, and it's very condescending for you to say, well, you're black because of this, or you're white of this, or you're not this, that, and the other. It's very dichotomous, and that's very dangerous because you don't leave room for gray. So that was really my biggest issue. A lot of it, he also excluded a good chunk, especially with the Dominican Republic. He just said, Dominicans don't want to say that they're black because they're ashamed of being black. But didn't really say that they couldn't say they were black, especially uh, the Batista days, especially with it is his name Batista, right? With all the dictators, they couldn't really say they were black because they would be killed. So you had to acknowledge that history to see why people were maybe a bit more hesitant. Because if you're bound to get killed just for saying that you have African or that you are considered black and not one of the other categories, um, that would lead you to believe that it's a bad thing, and that trickles down into a mentality that I think it's valid for him to point out, but I do think it was magnified because it was very dichotomous again. Haiti was very revolutionary, very conscious of their blackness, conscious of people being oppressed, without really disregarding that they did kill Dominicans in the process, Dominican civilians, and that the Dominican Republic was just a bad, self-hating black country that didn't acknowledge their blackness at all, without really considering that it was policy back in the day to not call yourself black, so that has an effect on you. It's psychological, sociological, anthropological. So, for the most part, I actually liked it just because very few people talk about it, especially with regards to Mexico and Peru, especially the Peruvian one, where was it uh, Negro Mama, something like that. I did not know that happened, and I'm glad that they actually talked about the whole deal with Mimi Penguin, and I love how one of the guys from, was it Guerrero, said that Jesse Jackson was online, which I was like, yes, because he says, it does not reflect Afro Mexicans. They know it's a caricature. They know it's a cartoon. So for you to divert attention away from other important issues like poverty, like access to education, to focus on something that has been ignored and has been so part of the culture, and for you to think that Afro Mexicans actually see that as a representation of them is very condescending, is very inconsiderate of the Afro Mexican society. So, like I said, I'm not going to talk too much about it. I probably did talk more than you wanted me to, but that was just my whole spiel. Henry Louis Gates, I love him as an academician. I have a degree in sociology, anthropology, and Black World Studies. But yeah, he does come off just like it's his way or the highway. So there was also down just like, okay, chill. But I don't know who else is watching it. So I've contacted a couple of people to watch it, but I don't know who did. So this has been a pretty quiet conversation I've had with just very select people. So I was wondering what you all thought about it. So hit me up later.